And we are live.
How about it?
I'm not sure those whistles translate well. Welcome everybody to Crossing the Streams, episode 39. This is our last episode in our 30s. It's so exciting, so exciting. If it wasn't for the insurrection, this would have been episode 40.
That's a good point.
We took that week off. So this is exciting. Thanks everyone for joining us. Crossing the Streams, which is the number one show in the world for getting information and advice on shows that you should be streaming and watching on all the various platforms: Netflix, Hulu, Apple Plus. We don't discriminate. If it streams, we're there.
How many countries are we in this point, Jeff?
It's interesting that you asked. I did just get a note. 11,432 countries. We rank in the top 17. The top 17. You know, it's a true statistic because it was a weird number that I randomly chose. So, and we're ranking also number one in over 62 states. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's incredible. Impossible.
I know it seems impossible, but I got those numbers from Marjorie.
I know we're strong in Krakosia. I know that.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we stalled long enough for Bob.
You got him.
Yeah.
In the house, boys.
All right, guys. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we do have a returning guest, John Sullivan. This is
John.
Johnny.
Hi, John. Hello.
This is John's three-peat. So we're going to give him the honors of kicking us off with the theme song.
All right, here we go. Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
So
they made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff and Ron and Sal and Bob, and then there's Howard, they call it Crossing Streams.
Oh, nice. Ronnie, take it away.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform, but man, we cross those streams. We cross the streams.
We cross the streams.
That's the way we do it here. We cross the streams.
We're so
great
excited.
Job, everyone. Great job. That was
really good, and we're excited. For those of you tuning in for the first time, you can watch us on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at BigMacher, Facebook.com/JeffIsFunny.com. Be alerted every time we go live. So do that. We want to thank Bob. Bob was almost not here. It was almost like he almost.
I was upset.
Oh my God, we had camera issues, but you sound amazing, so it's exciting.
Thank you. You look amazing, Jeffrey.
It's almost like when Peppa didn't show up for the Salt and Pepper show. So,
well, we do have a returning guest, John Sullivan. Man.
Johnny.
Hello.
It's good to have you back, sir. Tell us.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be back. Happy to be here. And I reviewed another interesting one this week, so I'm excited to talk about it. Nick Cage, Ultimate Instant Classic.
Aren't they all?
Very true.
Very true. So it's an exciting week. So we lost a legend this week. When we do lose, Ed Asner passed away. I had the honor of interviewing Mr. Asner. There's me and him at the bottom there, just a few months ago.
Wow.
Which was
it was a great interview too.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You know, he was one of those people where it was like I reached out to him and he said yes, like really fast. And I was like kind of shocked by it. It happened to be he was he had a book called My Son is a Junk Man. So sometimes if you get these folks, when they're pitching something, they're kind of in that mode. So I guess I got lucky in multiple ways with that. But awesome. Ed Asner, it's interesting when I read his book, which It's a nice quick read. But what was really interesting about it was that he describes the political climate between the Republicans and the Democrats. Then he was a staunch Democrat,
staunch liberal, yeah.
and he talks in the book about how he would go up against Charlton Heston and all those folks that were the staunch Republicans. Basically, it's the story of now, then, and you realize, we're so aware of the moment now, but this is the way it always is. You know what I mean? It's like it seems to always be these fighting factions, not just in Hollywood. I didn't mean it that, but there's always the conflicts that go on where you think the world is going to end and everything kind of just cycles through and life goes on. But it was interesting to me because he's very Jewish. He was very religious, and he talks a lot about that in the book. And it was nice. I enjoyed being able to kind of talk to him about that stuff. I joked with him in the beginning. I said, I loved your book, and I knew I was going to really love it when you called Passover Pesach in the book, because I said, I turned to my wife and I said, you got to believe this was a fight with the editor to get this word in instead of the one that everyone knows. And he goes, yeah, it's great. You and I will understand the book. But it was really nice being able to talk to him. So tremendous loss. But
before you move on, I just want to say I really respected him in the interview, Jeff, because he talked about at the time him having his political leanings and just the willingness to fight with people like Charlton Heston. I mean, that could be a death sentence to an early career, and I respected the fact that he stuck to his guns. People still hired him. I had no idea how Jewish and how liberal the guy was.
Yeah. He was one of the first people canceled.
Yeah, exactly. So
you fight Charlton Heston on a chariot.
He
I came away from the interview feeling really just very impressed by him as a person. So just wanted to say
he was a great guy. He stuck to his guns. He one of those people that just really believed in what he was doing. Hey, Lee, we're going to talk about Bob Ross today.
Hi, Lee.
Lee had asked in one of the comments to talk about Bob Ross, so that's why I slipped that one in for me. But anyway, so a tremendous loss for everybody, but so much great stuff. It's funny though, because my kids love him as Santa, because Elf is one of our favorite movies in the house. Totally. Older generation, Mary Tyler Moore, Up. I mean, it's like I remember talking to him and he made some comment like he wasn't working, and I said to him, "You've got 19 things on your IMDb that haven't come out yet." I mean, he was like 91. I mean, it's like you work more than anyone. Anyway, so feel free to check out my interview with Ed Asner. Also, check out the Sal and Bob Show.
Thank you for that plug.
They've got lots of great stuff too. All of the great podcasts from the folks on the show.
You guys back in steakhouses yet, or not yet?
Not yet, but we had a great interview. We got plowed last night in Northville, Sal. But we had a great interview on our last podcast. Nigel Collins, the former editor of the Bible of Boxing, Ring Magazine, my thing. So we won't go on about it here. But if you feel like listening to it, if you're a boxing fan, check it out.
Yeah, well, if you're a boxing fan, check out the last 10 episodes of Crossing the Stream.
You shut up.
Anyway, if you missed last week's, Bob talked about The Real Rocky, which was an amazing boxing documentary, which I'm sure is a coincidence. And we talked about Freaky, the movie, Heist. But I think the real star of the show was Howard Rosner with Untold Malice at the Palace, the story of for sure of the incident that went down at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and Howard was actually there and working and was with security during that time and all that kind of stuff. So it was an interesting, just the review of the perspective from him, and that's cool. Definitely something to check out. And then today we got a great lineup. We got Deceptive Practice, Ricky Jay, which is not a boxing documentary. Amanda Knox, also not a boxing documentary. Made You Look, Bob Ross, Happy Accidents, Betrayal, and Greed, and Willy's Wonderland. So we got a great lineup today. I want to just say that in the next week, I'm going to talk about Only Murders in the Building on Hulu. So anyone listening who wants to be ready to have a comment in on
Is,
that.
is that a series or is that a movie?
It's a
It looks
series. It's a
okay.
series.
It looks good. I
It's-
love anything with Martin Short.
Spoiler, it's really great. Hello, Fred, friend of the show. Check out Head of Fred and
Hey, Fred. Hi, Fred. Fred's a funny guy.
his amazing podcast. Fred's been on the show many times also.
Yeah.
So totally cool. So we got a lot to go into today. So why don't we jump in? Let's start with some light fare and go right into
Wow.
this is a documentary on Netflix that Ron is going to.
It is. I'm back on the Netflix binge again, even though I'm a big, Apple TV Plus guy. But how many of you did you guys see the Amanda Knox story on Netflix? It's from 2016. It seems to be back into their rotation again.
I saw Sweetwater, which she apparently took exception to.
I think that's why it's popular again, because Sweetwater is sort of based on the story of Amanda Knox.
Yeah.
Sounds like John
Noxie.
Foxy Noxie. John, had you seen it? It looked like you were about to.
No, so I was very familiar with the story because I spent some time in Italy in like 2004. So I was kind of familiar with like students over there, and it was a little sketchy. And so I like closely followed the story of her being jailed and then let out. And then the other guy gets caught, and the media just like goes after her. So I haven't watched that documentary, but I'm very familiar with the whole.
Yeah, well, listen, we all know the story of Foxy Noxie and Amanda Knox being, to your point, being, put in prison for 4 years in Italy for murder with her boyfriend and the whole thing, American. And what I find really interesting about this documentary, which, by the way, it is just a 1 hour and change documentary on Netflix. There's no episodes, just one sitting, and it's the classic documentary. It's archival footage with overlaid with so-called experts talking about the case. And what's interesting about this particular documentary is it features Amanda Knox herself in studio, kind of walking the viewer through each part of the case, from the lead up to the murder, straight up to how she got out of Italy, how she got back to the United States, how she didn't return for her final appeal, and all the decisions that went in this. And what you find out during the viewing of this is that it's a couple things. First off, you discover very clearly Amanda Knox is a very intelligent young lady. She is incredibly articulate. She is effusive in the way she speaks. She's clear in what it is she's trying to communicate to you. She's still beautiful, by the way. And the other thing that really struck me is, she's from Seattle, and I don't know where she got her education or if she studied Italian in Italy, because she's not Italian. But I can tell you this: the girl speaks beautifully fluent Italian, and that is seemingly like a trifle at the beginning. Like, you wouldn't think that'd be such a big deal, but what comes through is how flawlessly she can navigate both the Italian and the American system, through this process. And you're left wondering, she's so smart and cunning. Maybe she is guilty. Like, maybe this whole thing is her, her ability to manipulate these systems in such a way, and manipulate this dope of a boyfriend she met in Italy, who you will very quickly ascertain is just an idiot, but good looking. And, and there's a pivotal moment in the documentary where she looks right in the camera. And this is a quote. She says, "Right to you, I think I'm trying to explain what it feels like to be wrongly convicted, to either be this terrible monster or to be a person who is vulnerable." And the way she says to be this terrible monster, you kind of believe her, because she seems like she's kind of a terrible monster. Now, I will just say I'm glad this all ended up the way it did, because what we have just recently found out, having nothing to do with the documentary, there was ultimately DNA evidence, that a more modern review of DNA evidence that ended up proving beyond any doubt that it was
that
not,
right? I didn't know that.
Her. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was this guy, it's an Italian gentleman who everyone had suspected all along if it wasn't going to be Amanda Knox and her boyfriend. So, and that's great. So it means in the end we did get it right. But What also is interesting is that the Italians very much wanted to get her. The people, the mood in Italy of the people was absolutely 100% she's guilty. She needs to be in prison for the rest of her life. And the mood here in the United States was this was impossible. There's no way that this girl, from Seattle, Washington, could possibly commit this murder. So it is a very interesting watch. I was captivated the whole time. She is a very interesting interview, and I think the points she makes about her voyage from being a student, going through the process, and then coming back to her family, who they themselves weren't sure whether she was guilty or not. It's a very interesting watch, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, it's just an hour, and I think it's an hour and 10 minutes. I think the whole thing on Netflix, and I think you'll enjoy it. So have fun with it.
Was it a appropriate hour and 10 minutes? Like, was that like the right time for it? Or did they even stretch it at that point?
No, I thought it was pretty appropriate, actually. I thought they did a nice job with the lead up. How she ended up in John, how do you pronounce it? Perugia? Peruga? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I don't think it's Perugia. I think it's Perugia.
Perugia, yeah. So, they talked about how she ended up there fairly randomly. So they talked about how she ended up in Italy and living in this hostel of a house with these other people. She didn't even know Amanda Kircher, the British student who was murdered. They barely knew each other when the murder went down. She had just met, I don't know if you guys knew this boyfriend that, you see the video of her kissing him and all the lovey-dovey stuff. She had just met the guy like a week earlier, 5 days earlier.
So she was a suspected murderer and hoe bag, is what you're saying.
I think she's guilty of the hoe bag part, no one denies that part. It's always interesting to see beautiful women who end up being Black Widow, murderers, and it's just not the case in this one. But it does add, I will say, a certain flair to the documentary.
I like how you subtly put still doubt into everyone's minds that maybe she did it. Maybe she did it.
I gotta watch it because I'm not convinced she didn't do it. And by the way, I need to correct myself. I called it Sweetwater. It's Stillwater. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Bob, you're gonna have to check it out, and I'm interested in your opinion about it because
I'm gonna watch it tomorrow.
It's very uncomfortable coming away from it. You're really not sure if she's guilty or innocent.
Okay.
But now we know. So just so you know, through that.
All right.
Did I ever tell you guys my I room blind freshman year at Eastern Michigan? And my roommate shot his girlfriend and killed himself in Wisconsin.
No, your roommate.
Yeah. So I had just moved out because he was crazy. And
it was your documentary.
Yeah, I know, right? It was like my brother just recently was like, and mom and dad never got you therapy? And I'm like, oh my God, it didn't even occur to me. He's like, you were living with a murderer.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, but the girl turned out was fine. Actually, absolutely.
She survived.
Yep, alive today with kids.
Oh,
Jeff, I seriously thought you were kidding this entire. I thought you were leading up to a joke. Right
too.
Oh,
no.
There's literally no punchline to this.
No, it's Lee's comment about the parents made me remember because one of the vivid memories I had at the time was watching his parents walk after they had found him dead. They walked in, going to his room to get his stuff. And it was like decades later, it took on a whole different meaning once you have kids of your own. Yeah. And the whole idea of watching that and how horrible it must have been. But so if you want to hear a quick story, I'll tell you, this guy was he would scream at her on the phone. He put on shows and it was like I had a friend, my good friend was named Tim, and he would come into the room. And one day he just opens up the drawer, this other guy's drawer. His name was Chris. He opens up the drawer. And I go, shut that drawer. That's not my drawer. And he shuts the drawer, right? And so later that day, we're back in the room, and my friend Tim, just to be a jerk to me, he goes, oh, you don't open this drawer? And there's a note that says, did you enjoy going through my drawer? All he did was open and shut it. Okay, I was just like, oh my God.
Dude.
I was like,
that single white female level stuff.
You were on his list.
Oh,
wow.
Man.
So
wow.
What they think what happened was that he didn't want her to break up with him, and she was Jewish, he wasn't. Apparently, he was anti-Semitic. None of it made sense. But they think
Romeo and Juliet.
they think he was going to kill himself in front of her, and she ran, and like then he just kind of shot her, literally shot her in the head, and it came out her mouth, like if you were like an inch higher, dead, right? And then they found him in a hotel room. Did not get a 4 point. Everyone asks, don't ask. The
epilogue to the story, no 4 point.
no 4 point.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's
Wow.
only
And you're
the-
getting on me for my boxing documentaries. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
I know, right?
This podcast just took a turn.
Yeah, dude. Into the macabre.
Mystery
Wow.
podcast
Well,
now.
they just it's-
Maybe our ratings will go up. We're a murder mystery podcast.
I was thinking.
Dateline Wednesday.
I was thinking it would be great to like make a fake one of those, but anywho, okay. So let's move on. Let's go to let's give John. I think
Oh, wow,
I'm
okay.
dying here about Willy's Wonderland. The poster itself is just
Yeah.
so freaky. It's awesome. All right, let's hear all about it.
Okay, so I went into this blind. Like, you all know kind of the story of Nick Cage. He's overspent. Like, I hear he has a $2 million comic book collection. He bought like a castle in Transylvania. Like, he spent like crazy, and then his movie career kind of dried up. So now he's making movie after movie to make money. And I actually like watching them. They all seem to be simple plots. Like that new movie Pig came out. So I saw this one. It's on Hulu. He's the star. And I didn't read anything about it. There's kind of a little bit going on underneath it that you kind of realize after when I did some research. But basically, simple plot. He drives, his car breaks down in this like town in Nevada. It's like this old dusty town. And he brings it to this shop. And the guy's like, it's going to be a week to fix it. And I only accept cash. The ATM's broken. He's like, you can do this though. You can do this simple job for me and I'll fix your car. So that's basically the plot. Now the job it's strange what the job is. He has to go into this old, basically run down sort of like animatronic, like Chuck E. Cheese almost, where they have those animals. And have you guys been to a Chuck E. Cheese recently? I think they're closed now, but those animals are creepy, right?
Yeah, so, right. So I'm just putting the image back up so they can see the creepy.
Right.
animals.
So they're these kind of creepy animals and whatever. So it's the shutdown thing. And this guy's like, you got to go in there and basically just clean up all night. And if it's clean when we come in the morning, you'll get, we'll fix the car for you. So he kind of goes in, he's alone in this place, and there's these sort of animatronic things. And, long story short, they come to life and he has to fight them all night. And there's 9 of them. And then there's these like college students who come and try to help, but I literally just think they're there to get murdered because they get like killed by the things. So Cage is just like beating the crap out of these animatronic animals. I mean, it is. I wish I could say more like it was layered or there's something else going on. It's just
Layered.
This sounds
Cage.
perfect for him.
I want to watch this movie so bad right now.
So he's just beating these things up. I guess I'll give you a little background on it. That's basically it. So he's got to make it through the night and survive these animatronic things that are trying to kill him. And the sort of backstory is on them. They were cursed by a witch years ago, so they're like satanic devil animatronic things.
So wait, John, can I just ask?
Yes.
Real quick, are they trying to be funny, or is it? Are they?
Yeah,
trying-
it's sort of horror comedy.
Got it.
Like
Okay.
because
Just
it's
sure.
low budget, and this guy Kevin Lewis, I looked him up. He's got like 4 other things he's directed.
So it's like
other actors-
Sharknado-esque a little bit.
kind of, but it's like, not as like, there's not crazy graphics like that. It's more like hand-to-hand combat where he's like picking up like, metal rods and whacking these things. And then when these animatronic things, it's great. When they get beat up, this black stuff shoots out because they couldn't use blood. And there's no explanation to what the black stuff is. It just shoots out. So weird kind of side note in the story, as he's kind of killing these things, every once in a while he goes into the kitchen and he drinks these fruit punch sodas and he plays a pinball game, like blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I'm just like, it was almost as if they were in a writer's room. Like, all right, let's get Nick Cage. He's beating up like Chuck E. Cheese characters. He drinks sodas. It was like literally, it just seemed like all over the place. But apparently the reason behind that is he's supposed to kind of resemble like a video game character. This is sort of supposed to be like a video game. And another side note, I realized this after. If you guys like overacting Cage where he says crazy things, no dialogue from Cage. He doesn't say one word.
Wow.
In the
Yes.
whole movie?
Whole movie.
Really?
Not one word. So he's supposed to be like the stoic Western video game character, and I think they just push it to the edge. They're like, what if he just doesn't say a word? It's all just like reactions from him, and then people kind of act around him. So yeah.
Wow, what an easy role for him.
How
I
long of a
know.
movie is this?
And best part, it's like an hour and a half, so it's short. So I
Is this a
honestly would
Blumhouse?
recommend. No, it's like it's low. It's low budget.
Okay.
It's on Hulu, but I would recommend watching it with like someone else so you can kind of react with it. Like I watched it alone and I had no research on it, so I was literally just like, "Wow, this is really like it hit me hard." It was, but it's good. Like I recommend it. It's like a Nick Cage, very simple action flick. I won't
Okay.
spoil the ending.
I'm
not
definitely
sure-
gonna watch it.
I'm not sure. you
Yeah,
can
I'm gonna
spoil
watch
it.
that. I'm gonna watch everything.
I know it's not like
you
if I
talked
spoil the ending, it's like
It
I
turns
can't watch it. No, it's good. I would recommend it. I don't think it's going to win any awards anytime soon, but check it out. It's good.
Thanks,
Nick Cage. Can't miss with Nick Cage.
about. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
All right.
kind of an amazing evolution. I mean, listen, we all know his troubles, right? So it's
Yeah.
not at all surprising that he's doing movies like this. But the guy, I mean, did he win the Academy Award for Leaving Las Vegas?
I think he did. He's
I
won
think
one at least.
I mean, he was a major star, and now he's
Even
doing.
like some of those early 80s movies he's in are like, timeless classics that he's in. What's the comedy he's in?
Oh, what's the Elvis one?
Yeah, that was it 3,000 Elvises to Graceland?
No.
or
That
something?
was that was Kevin Costner. Honeymoon in Vegas.
Oh yeah,
Honeymoon in Vegas, Moonstruck. That was great.
Moonstruck. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Raising Arizona was
Raising
awesome.
Arizona was amazing.
I think
It really was.
I think it all went wrong when his Tim Burton Superman Lives movie didn't get made.
I know.
What a weird story that is.
Oh,
was paid
Con
$20
Air,
million for
Con
that.
Air, The Rock.
Con Air
What
is
a
great.
Isn't The
success.
Rock his? Isn't he in
Rock
The Rock?
is great. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he's got amazing movies. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it comes
Carla
down,
was the prom queen. Remember that?
Right.
He's like,
Right.
your best. Losers do their best. Winners go home and F the prom queen.
Whoa.
That's pretty good, actually.
Thank you. I've done that a ton of times.
What's the one he did with Meg Ryan where he's an angel? Anybody know
Oh,
what
that's
it?
City of Angels.
City of Angels.
Oh,
okay.
I love
Yeah.
that movie. That's that's a top 10 with me.
Really?
Yes, and the one he did with Bridget Fonda.
Oh yeah.
It
It could happen to you.
could happen to you. What a
Yeah.
lovely romantic comedy. I love
Forgot
that
about that
movie.
movie.
Bridget Fonda was like the greatest for a while. What was the one she made? It was her version of Nikita X or something.
Oh yeah.
Point
Not
of No
La-
Return. or
Yeah, Point of
something.
No Return. That was La
Yes.
Femme, La
So
Femme
good.
Nikita.
Yeah.
So good. Love him, Nikita. Yeah.
Let's
All right.
not forget Face Off Guys with Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Travolta.
So
yeah.
many classics. We should
Yeah,
do a
that's a
whole
good
Nick.
one.
We should do a Nick Cage.
We should, Jeff. That's no joke. We should do a Nick Cage day.
We should do
Nick-
a
I love
Bridget
it.
Fonda retrospective.
Oh, which one? Jane
A
Fonda.
Bridget Fonda
Oh, Bridget.
retrospective.
Is there more than the one? No,
There's
it's only
several.
two.
Oh, she's got
Single
plenty
white
of
female.
movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
single wife.
Mm.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Jackie
All
Brown.
right. Well,
Jackie Brown. Yeah.
speaking of top 30, let's get into Deceptive Practice, the mysteries and mentions of Ricky Jay. Now, for those fans that have hung around the show for a while, this was almost the curse of Ricky Jay in the sense that
It was.
Bob wasn't even around last time. I'm like, we did this one. No, we didn't, because Bob didn't make it to that part of the show. So, and he almost didn't make it today. I was like, oh no, the curse
This is
of
the
Ricky
third
Jay.
attempt.
The curse of Ricky Jay. So hurry up, talk fast.
Okay, Ricky Jay, if is one of these people you think you don't know him, but you know him. You've seen him a million times, but he's always he's a character. He was a character actor, but just he kind of forced himself to do that. He was in Boogie Nights. He was in let's see, a lot of David Mamet films like The Spanish Prisoner, House of Games. Let me look over here at my The Prestige, which is a great movie about magic. And when you see his face, now that particular thing that you saw there, you wouldn't recognize him for that. But if you saw his regular acting headshot, you would instantly recognize him as that guy who's always interesting, who's just always this guy who shows up in movies of crime, like heist movies, like movies about magic, movies about, Mamet goes with his movies. But anyhow, Ricky Jay to me is one of the most fascinating figures of all time. I love, I used to be a magician when I was a kid. I did, kids' parties and all that stuff. And, but Ricky Jay was probably the best close-up magician of his generation. And he said famously that he knows nothing of the 20th century, and literally everything about him was sort of pulled from the 19th century. Every part of his act, everything that he did. In fact, he didn't really have an act. He was just so amazing that other magicians would just bow to him. I mean, these jokers in Vegas. I mean, Chris Angel, Copperfield. They couldn't do what Ricky Jay could do. This guy was right. You were right on top of him, and he was, completely fooling you and other magicians. One of the things I loved about him, and it shows up in this documentary, is that he has almost zero time for his past. He just doesn't talk about his childhood. He doesn't talk about anything but these old geezers that he sought out in the flim flam game and the con man game and the magician game to teach him how to be this person he became. In fact, I love this quote. I have to look over here to grab it. When talking about his father, this is the only quote he gives about his parents. He said, "My father oiled his hair with Brill cream and brushed his teeth with Colgate. He kept his toothpaste in the medicine cabinet and the Brill cream in a closet about a foot away. Once when I was 10, I switched the tubes. All you need to know about my father is that after he brushed his teeth with Brill cream, he put the toothpaste in his hair." This is all he says about his upbringing, the parents that he was with. He has no time for them. They were completely incidental. He went when he was 7, he embarked on this, and at 10 he made up his mind he was going to be the world's greatest close-up magician. Well, people have over the years watched him, and you can YouTube some of his stuff, and you see the joy with which he performs. But what he ultimately says about himself, which I find so fascinating, he says, "This is all I am. This is me. This is all I've ever wanted to be. They keep trying to put me in movies. I don't want to be in the movies." But he knows David Mamet, so Mamet says, "You got to be in my movie." And then Paul Thomas Anderson that directed Boogie Nights?
That's right.
Said, "You got to be in my movie." He says, "I don't want to be in your movie." He says, "You're going in my movie." So he's got these wonderful roles, but his life, his legacy was just an amazing body of close-up work, inventing illusions and freaking people out from coast to coast. But also, what's kind of funny about it, that the documentary is called Deceptive Practices. Deceptive, yes, that is what magic is all about. But Ricky Jay was anything but deceptive. He was always upfront. He was always honest about what he was doing. He never really went into the con game. He never went into being a flim flam guy. But he said he was always drawn to it, and he evaded that. Wound up becoming very wealthy, very well known. And I just think that anybody who's into real close-up magic, check this out. It's unlike anything you've ever seen.
I'm going to check. He's in Deadwood.
Yes, he was in Deadwood. That's right.
Where is it streaming?
This is on Netflix.
Oh, on Netflix. Okay.
Yeah, it's a 2012 documentary, I think. He
check that
died
out.
in 18. Yeah, it's very interesting.
So
Definitely check that out.
I don't know why everything today is triggering a horrible memory of mine, but
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh preemptively, but what now?
So
What now?
Sal and Bob would know this one. So this is funny. So we knew a magician who was also a comedian. His name was Scott Loftus. And
right.
so Scott Loftus was a magician. And I remember, and this had to have been 7 or so years ago. I said to him, "Oh, you should do my daughter's birthday." So she would have been maybe 14 or something at the time, or young girl. But just the right age for somebody who then ends up in a sex sting, like what is it
Child
called?
molestation?
Dayline.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Where you think you're going to pick up have sex with a
No.
14.
Chris Matthews. What was his name?
Yeah. So just
Chris-
to know,
Chris Hansen?
just it was
Chris
such
Hansen.
big. It was such big news in the local area. It
Yeah,
actually
it was.
It bested it was the Doc Kevorkian's hunger strike in jail. But here's the best part of the story. One, I never told my wife, and she'd have to watch this to find out. I never told my wife I had hired a pedophile by accident to be at my daughter's party. And 2, when the news put I'm dating myself again, MySpace page on the news, I was in his top 8.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
So,
That's really
All
good.
right.
You really
way to bring it home.
You really attract some interesting characters, Jeff.
I gotta tell you
A
something. Look
freshman
at-
roommate, and then this guy. Wow.
and somehow never had therapy.
You're fine,
Decided to
Jeff.
have a podcast.
Yes, I have a podcast and stuff.
Oh,
Cool. You know what, Bob? I gotta tell you, I thought this was some murder mystery about some weird deviant when I looked at the thing, and now I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, he's a really cool dude.
I didn't recognize him. I didn't recognize him from the poster.
Yeah,
So-
I don't know why they made the poster that way. It's strange. It made him look macabre or something.
Lee says, "Wow."
Wow.
Bob was
By the
he
way,
on? Sorry, was he on Carson at
No, go
all,
ahead.
or
Was he what?
was he on Carson or Letterman or any of the?
Yeah, he went on Carson a lot. And
okay.
I don't know if he was on Letterman, but he was beloved out in LA, the Comedy and Magic Store. And it's just a,
He died
When
not
you-
too
when-
long ago.
Yeah, just a couple years ago.
2018. Yeah.
yeah, really cool dude.
Very cool. That was awesome, Bob.
yeah. Good
Okay,
job.
thanks.
Nice job.
That was
I'm
really
gonna watch
cool.
everything we've talked about tonight.
I know that's the whole point of the show, Sal.
Yeah.
Well, normally I don't want to watch
Just
everything.
took
What did you watch, Sal?
39 episodes. Bob Sal gets the idea of the show.
We have 39 episodes. I think I've been in 4.
This is the 39th episode. The Made You Look.
Yeah.
Take it away, Sal.
All right. Just to back up the story that Jeff told about that local comedian, when he was in the news back then, this was on Fox News. They obviously they did a little story about him, so they put his headshot up. But this one headshot that they used, he was like holding 2 bowling balls. It looked so ridiculous. I'm like, oh my god, the guy didn't even have a good headshot, man. I mean, it's so funny. I forgot.
Yeah, first, who is 2 bowling balls?
I don't know. So it's just a stupid looking headshot. Like, oh God. Not only is he an
What a
idiot.
life we leave.
But anyway, so this
Oh,
is a
yeah.
documentary that I watched. It's called Made You Look. It is about the Knoedler Gallery art scam, the art con that happened about 10 years ago in New York at a gallery called Knoedler Gallery. It's very famous. It's been around for a long time. And basically, this is fake art that was just so good that experts couldn't figure it out. Just collectors around the world. And it all started from this lady named, let me get her name right, Glafira Rosales. Okay. She is a art dealer in New York at the time. She's from Long Island. And she's getting these paintings from literally a Chinese math teacher. Okay. The guy that's painting these is just a Chinese math teacher who lives in Queens. just lives in a modest house in Queens, and he's freaking painting these Jackson Pollock and Mark Rothko paintings that are just unbelievable. And the guy's actually writing their signatures at the bottom of the paintings as well.
Wow.
And then this lady would bring them over to Nodler, say a dozen at a time in the back of her car. And this lady named Ann Friedman, who runs the gallery, is taking these paintings on and selling them to big time collectors all over the world, basically, and people that are coming into to the art gallery. And it's just a scam art that's going on, and everybody's making money. The Chinese guy, the art gallery, this Ann Friedman is killing it on commissions. And this goes on for a very long time, $80 million worth. And what happens was kind of how things got kind of started to figure out that these are fake was one of the collectors noticed that one of the paintings had this yellow paint, and the yellow paint that was used did not come out till 1970. But Jackson Pollock died in a car accident in 1956. So that's kind of when things started to kind of unravel, and these were kind of known that were fake. But the crazy thing about it, if you guys watch this, it's kind of known that they're fake, but nobody, I don't want to say nobody cares. It's just that they're so good that they just kind of like filter out into galleries and collectors' homes.
Like they almost got accepted because
correct.
They're so good.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Like later on in the documentary, they actually there was 104 legal cases against Nodler Gallery for this. Only 4 went to court, and 1 went to a really high court. Like it just went on. All the others were probably, I think some people that bought these paintings just never even, they just said, hey, it's hanging in my house. My people that come to my house think it's a Pollock painting, and they just never even follow up on it. But this one guy does, and he takes it all the way to court. And they even had like this famous, they had Jackson Pollock's son come out to the courtroom and literally see one of these paintings, and he just goes, this is so beautiful. He didn't even say it's fake or nothing. Yeah. It was just kind of funny. Like Ron was just saying, it was just kind of accepted. So it was kind of cool. A little, I thought would have been a funny moment when they never showed the court scenes. Obviously, they just used those court sketches. And I thought somebody was going to come out and go, yeah, these sketches are a Pollock sketch too. You know, I thought that would have been a funny Nobody did that. But the thing's about an hour and 30 minutes long. There's really, like Ron was explaining on him, there's really no live footage or anything that was taped or anything. It's just a lot of people interviewing. So if you're not into, I mean, you got to kind of listen to everybody talk. They talk to people that are in the art world, Vanity Fair magazine editors and stuff like that. They a lot of interviews. But this Ann Friedman, who was the gallery dealer, she's in it a lot, and you just got to watch it. I don't want to get into it. I know we don't have much time, but it's very good. And it goes all the way to the end. And no spoiler alert. I don't want to give a spoiler alert, but basically nobody really gets busted too bad. The Chinese math guy takes off for China, so he's not ever going to come back to the United States. And this Glafira Rosales' boyfriend, who's the one that pretty much masterminded this, he took off for Spain. So those two guys are never coming into the country. And Ann Friedman got away with everything. She just got fired from Nodler. And then she opened up her own gallery in New York. So she's currently back in her business. And then the only one that kind of got screwed is this Glafira Rosales, whatever. She stayed out of jail, but she's just they said she's working at a diner in Brooklyn. I mean, she's just a waitress crazy.
Hey, Sally.
Scott Loftus works there too.
I want to. So, did you ever see Thomas Crown Affair?
No.
So it's a pretty good movie. But Renee Russo, who plays the art insurance person who's trying to get back one of the paintings, she said something in Thomas Crown Affair that for whatever reason, always stuck with me. And that is that when art museums hang up famous paintings, they never see the borders. Like the people who come in and see the paintings, the frames always hide the borders of the art, so that if the painting is ever stolen, that only the people who actually were there in the presence of the original painting would know what the borders look like.
Okay.
Did they talk about that at all?
They never mentioned that the border thing though. That's interesting. They never did. But one moment was kind of cool. Like this one dealer or whatever finds out through that painting story that I just told you, the yellow painting story. He goes back to Nadler and he goes, I want my money back on this painting. And I think he paid like $2 million. So that Ann Friedman gives him his $2 million. She puts it right up in the gallery for like $9 million. Just sells it for $9 million like the next day.
She makes $7 million on the
day. It was just ridiculous what was going on with these paintings, man. So it's really interesting to see. But the thing that's crazy is this math teacher out of Queens. He's a great painter. I mean, the guy's a phenomenal painter to make these paintings look so real. It was pretty cool. And I give it a thumbs up. I give it 4 tomato sauce jars, man. I'm not going to say 5 because I'm not going to say 5 because there wasn't really a lot of footage. It's just really a lot of just people talking. I think if they would add more footage, it was great. And so my last story now is I was scammed back in the day. Okay, now this is what I got scammed on. There's a comic book store, or there used to be, at 7 Mile Middlebelt in Livonia. When I was like 14 years old, I used to go up there and buy my baseball cards. And then, look at those pictures of like those big posters of Marilyn Monroe, those kind of stores. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I would go in there, and the guy that ran it one time, he behind his glass thing, he had this Burger King straw. Okay. And he told me that this documentary that I just watched reminded me of this. He told me that straw was in the back seat of John F. Kennedy's convertible when he got shot, right? So I believed him, and I said, really? Wow, I can get the straw that was it. So he sold me that freaking Burger King straw for like $25. And I thought I had this great piece of history, but the guy probably had Burger King an hour before and then just puts it in his cage.
That's a terrible story, Sally.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I was scammed out of some art as well.
No, I don't believe I would have told that story, Sal.
I was 14 years old. I wanted to save it.
That belongs in the Smithsonian. That
this is like the whole. This is the therapy show. So anyway, I think that's a great. Yours, Sal, is a great one for this one. Great lead into Bob Ross, Happy Accidents, Betrayal, and Greed. Sounds fancy.
Wow.
I know, right? You're like, So
sounds too dark.
Let's break this.
Let's go.
Let's break it down a little bit. One, it insinuates that there was something betrayal or greed, maybe that Bob Ross did, and Bob Ross is a beloved person. He's died over 25 years ago, and probably just as beloved and known by as many people, more people than would hopefully that many people know any of us 25 years after our passing. But the happy accidents is his thing. That's obviously his thing. But the betrayal and greed was not him. It was what was painted against him. So it starts with Steve Ross, his son, kind of wanting to tell the story he's always wanted to tell. Now, here's the thing with documentaries and why I asked Ron earlier. This is a 90-minute documentary that I think should have been 30 minutes. I'm starting to think this show has sort of like a theme. How long was the documentary and how long should it have been? Right. Yeah. Okay. So this was a 30-minute special. Okay. All right. So it starts off with Steve Ross, the son. My opinion of this movie is a lot different than a lot of things that I read or, of friends that have written. What I think those friends saw was their emotion of Bob Ross and not the actual movie. But all right. So this is what happens. The whole thing is like, we wanted to talk to all these people. But Annette and Walt Kowalski are the people that own the Bob Ross name, and anything you see with Bob Ross on it, it's them, and it's been that way for 25 years. They're the ones that have made all the money since his passing off the Bob Ross name. Stephen Ross, I don't know if he made anything, but they make it seem like he really didn't get anything, and he probably didn't. So, but it's his story to tell, and everyone is afraid that the Kowalskis will sue them. I mean, these Kowalskis were 80 in the 70s. I don't even know how they're still alive. And so, I mean, they're old, right? And everyone's afraid of them, and they own the Bob Ross name. And it talks about Bob Ross, and there's some nice things about Bob Ross, and had this been about Bob Ross, it would have been nice. But what the name of this should have been was Bob Ross didn't know how to make a business deal and screwed his family. That's like the real, maybe not on purpose, but that's really the name of the movie. So let me flash forward and save everyone the time. About the 3/4 mark, it's revealed that when Bob Ross died, and he went hard. I mean, he had cancer or something, some real bad thing. And they painted he was on his deathbed, and the Kowalskis were trying to pressure him into giving him his name, give them him his name. And but that didn't go through. That just happened. And frankly, they were in business together, and they probably wanted his name, to keep going. And so Bob Ross, in his will, gives Bob Ross's stepbrother, Jimmy Cox is Bob Ross's stepbrother, 51% of his name and everything that's Bob Ross. And Steve Ross, his son, gets 49%. Now, if you've ever been in business and have less, if you have 49% of something and someone else has 51%, you might as well have 0%. Unless that person is of some amicable thing. But in terms of decision making or anything like that, you pretty much have 0, right? It's kind of like if you think like the Congress, when the Democrats do it, it doesn't matter if there's a lot of the other one, the one with the majority wins. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so shortly after Bob Ross died, and you learn this about 3/4 through, and up until this point, it's, the Kowalskis screwed everybody. I was robbed. My family legacy. And then about 3/4 through, you find out that Jimmy Cox, the half brother who owned 51% of everything, signed everything over to the Kowalskis. So, and then once that comes out, it's like, then it kind of shifts. The last bit of it shifts. Oh no, I'm Stephen Ross and I still paint and I'm still trying to get people to paint. They do these seminars. That was a whole Bob Ross thing. They would go
and nobody cares.
And it's like, it was almost just like they just try to drag out this drama. And then once they revealed what really happened, which was a bad business deal, I mean, the stepbrother basically sold it. It's not like the Kowalskis screwed everyone. And this is, spoiler, why everyone was afraid they'd get sued, because legally everything was done the way, I mean, look, everyone's emotions when watching this is, Bob Ross, 400, the joy of painting. He touched so many people, and he did. His son should have gotten something. He should have, but that's not what happened. But the lesson is, though, and what really should have been the lesson of this show, and earlier, we were talking earlier with Nick Cage with giving up all his money and losing his money, is that they should make shows where they teach rich people how not to lose all their money. MC Hammer, all these people, right?
Yes.
And people like Bob Ross or anyone of fame, like Barry White, Aretha Franklin, Prince, Howard Hughes, Pablo Picasso, all these people died without wills. So let the lesson be, even us non-famous people, everyone here and everyone listening, and go make a will. If you've got kids, if you've got a wife and kids, go make a will.
I'm going to leave my Burger King straw to Bob Phillips.
You should. Thank you.
but my point,
I'm verklempt.
My favorite scene is when Harry Met Sally, we joke about it all the time, is like when they're talking about possibly getting divorced, and Carrie Fisher says, "I will never want the Roy Rogers wagon wheel coffee table." Anyway, so but the lesson of this should have been, no matter how famous you are, it all comes down to what documents are left behind when you die. That should have been the message. And they didn't even make that the message. They just kind of they kind of just skirted through it. And then he just realized that this is how his life's going to be and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, but that should have been, they should take these things and teach people what they need to do to make sure that their kids don't get screwed. And, it's
I think the professional sports leagues do that, Jeff. I think the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, when these guys get signed to those deals, I think they have them talk to financial people to try to keep them straight.
My buddy Jason was a real estate agent for first-year NFL players. And that's exactly what he would work on, is making sure that they didn't buy stupid things.
Yeah, but so many people do, the huge entourages and everything. It's
the NBA. This is true too. The NBA has people mentoring rookies on how not to get women pregnant in all this. This is not a joke.
I believe that.
Stay away from the hose. Stay out. Go to your room, do your thing. Because of the instances of these guys getting taken in by
apparently that guy's not doing his job. Apparently that guy's not doing his job.
Oh man, that's too funny. Well, everybody, I think this was a fabulous episode.
This was a great show, Jeff. There was a lot of good stuff.
I love it.
Really good stuff, man.
Thanks, guys.
Special guest John Sullivan. John, say goodnight to everyone. Tell us remind us all where we can keep up with you.
I am Depressed Darth on Twitter. I'm that guy. I'm on Instagram too, Depressed_Darth. Follow me for comedy and Star Wars stuff.
He's hilarious. You guys
all right. I'm not that funny. He's making it up. I'm not that funny.
Sal, say goodnight.
Well, good night, everybody. And if you're in the Fort Wayne area, come to the Fort Wayne Comedy Club, Saturday, September 4th. SalDemilio.com.
Right.
Nice to see you.
We are huge in Fort Wayne, so I expect that. It's
one of the 1,000 cities, isn't it? Or 10,000 states.
That is. Good night, everybody. You can catch me on the Sal and Bob Show weekly, starting October 7th and November 11th and December 2nd. The Sal and Bob Show live at Janitti's Hole in the Wall Theater in Northville, Michigan.
Will I be guesting on any of those? Sal and Bob?
You very well might be.
And the Jeff DeWaskin Show. Follow us all. But we got to say goodnight, Ron.
Good night, everybody. See you next week.
Good night. And I am Jeff DeWaskin. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, John. Thanks, everyone, for another great episode of Crossing the Streams.
Love you all.
Woo. See you next week. And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow the Jeff DeWaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff DeWaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio, Zach Wiseman. We're all in the socials. Follow us. Listen to our podcasts live from Detroit, The Jeff DeWaskin Show, The Sal and Bob Show, and Some Nobodies. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.